Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another Advanced Wars by Web replay commentary. I know it's been a little bit since I've done one. I was still getting over a little bit being sick. I feel great now, which is awesome. And I also haven't really had too many interesting matches. I feel a lot of the matches I would want to cast are ones that I've won. I'm not saying that I only want to show me winning or anything, but most of my matches where I've lost, I felt weren't super interesting, or I didn't feel like, I lost because I learned something. Like one of them I lost because I accidentally built a pipe runner and then forgot I could delete units. That's not an interesting match to look at. That's just, fuck, I messed up. Now I'm punished for it because I forgot how to fix my mess up. Which I will never forget that I can delete units. Anyways, so this is a league match that ended a couple days ago, and spoiler alert, I lost the match, but I still felt good about it overall. Not good with what I did, but I felt good after looking at it. So I'm playing Jake. As you can see, Jake gets 10% firepower on planes with all units that can be on planes, which means air units are included. So his battlecopters are a little bit stronger, same thing for bombers and fighters while they're over planes. He has two powers, of course. Beatdown, which will give his land indirects +1 range, and then give the planes bonus up to from 10% to 20%. And then he has a superpower, Block Rock, which gives the land indirects +1 range, and all of his ground vehicles +2 movement, as well as buffing the planes bonus to 40%. So his Block Rock can actually hit pretty damn hard when he's got enough vehicles or artillery in range to take advantage of it. And in a smaller map as well, potentially you could run Jake with a lot of artillery if there's a good amount of choke points, so that way you can just get an extra bit of range and hit him. It's really like, basically, when you play as Jake, you can kind of view it like you're playing poor man's Grit to a certain extent, with getting that extra range, but you've also got direct vehicles to really back you up. I think Jake's probably one of the strongest Tier 4 COs. I don't know if he is exactly the strongest or not. I feel like him and Adder are pretty up there, and even Cole to a certain extent. Speaking of Adder, that's who I'm playing against. As you can see, Adder has no day-to-day abilities, meaning that his units are just 100, no special buffs. Although the bread and butter is going to be his little power, Sideslip, which only costs 2 stars in total, and gives him +1 movement on top of getting the power bonus of 10% firepower and defense. And then his superpower gives him 2 movement for 5 stars. So it's obviously a lot more cost effective to just keep using the little power, keep getting the 1 movement, and getting it a bunch, because once the fighting's really started, it lets you reinforce a lot quicker. Whereas if I want to get a movement buff, I have to wait till my superpower, which still costs more than his superpower does anyways. So his powers are pretty damn good, but he doesn't get a huge firepower increase. So it's a little iffy to really truly take advantage of it, but you want to just pressure early, basically. So let's go ahead and get into the match. I go ahead and I start by moving my black boat down, and I build some infantry, and then he's going to be pretty much doing the same thing if it will display properly. Of course, after I start recording, it wants to mess up. Let's now you see everything. Oh no. Build, next turn. There we go. So now he starts moving towards the base, builds infantry, and he doesn't move his black boat initially. I want to try and just start getting these properties early and try and take advantage of it. He starts capturing the base and the airport, and then he moves his black boat and builds his infantry. So right away he's already deploying them out. I'm capturing the base now, although I'm not capturing the airport. And he's moving out, starting to take the properties nearest vicinity. Pretty much, which is standard. I mean, it's the first few turns of Advance Wars. If you're not building infantry, what are you doing? Now, here where we differ is that I'm basically supplying a ton of infantry over here, whereas he's more sticking around his starting area. So there's a bit of a difference in the play style there. As you can see, he's already actually got 8,000 and already has the airport captured. So you're going to see him do a pretty good move over here with this. He's going to go transport copter and then triple infantry, making use of all of his money, which is something that I can't do because I don't have the ability to do that. I only drop 1 infantry off because I only have 1, and I do decide to start capping the airport. But man, he already had it captured and already has the transport. That's just going to really propel him ahead in the capture game, especially because he's going to get this property earlier than I am. So again, just building infantry over here. We're pretty even overall. I mean, he's a slightly ahead in the capture game, which is to be expected. If you're player 2 and you're not somewhat ahead of the capture game, then you're probably not doing what you're supposed to be. He goes triple infantry on his end, and now I've got 11,000, so that means that I am able to do a bit of a deviation from just infantry, infantry, and infantry, and infantry. I go mech, tank, infantry, because I feel that I can just transport the mech over here and then start moving around to try and get rid of any potential recon or tanks. Although, while mechs are pretty decent, I think I ended up going a little too hard in them. Anyways, he's continuing to move out, and not only does he have all the properties by starting area, or at least is just about to finish getting them, he's also doing a lot of capturing on properties out here, whereas I'm not quite there yet. So he's playing a lot better for the capture game, and he goes for tank and double infantry for his build. We move on to my day 7. And I'm able to start initiating some more captures. So I mean, we're still at roughly the same income, but you're really going to see what's the big difference in how things go pretty soon. I start moving towards the comm tower to try and take that. Of course, I want to make sure, I want to try and get the 20% firepower, basically, on planes, is what I'm going for. Because 20% is starting to get pretty significant, whereas 10% is still okay, but not great. So as you can see, day 7 rolls in, and he finishes his captures. And as you're going to see when he captures the city up top, he's going to be put at 12,000 each turn, which is pretty good, alongside with initiating a couple more captures as well. So he's at 12,000. I'm getting ready to go up to 12,000 myself. But he has it before me, basically. And yeah, he's supposed to be ahead in the capture game overall, but not to the point where it's insane. Now, something real quick I want to point out. He had 8,000 that he can use this turn. So what does he do? He goes infantry, tank, base skip. And I think that this is not good. Now, I know it's kind of hard for me to say, yeah, you played wrong and I lost. I guess that really goes to show how horribly I played, I guess you could say. But base skipping, I feel, is just bad because it really limits your presence on the map. You want to have as much presence as possible. And what I would have probably recommended, or what I would have probably done, is I would have probably built a recon and an infantry as opposed to a tank. Because with recon and infantry, so that would be 6,000 in total, and then he'd have an additional 2,000 more, so he'd have 14, which means he could still build his tank next turn. He could also potentially, if he wanted to, go double tank and base skip, which is odd. He could also have just built 3 infantry, and then had 17,000 to do double tank next turn, and still build an infantry from his other base. So he definitely had plays he could have done that were better than this, in my opinion, but tank's a tank. I start capping the comm tower, unbeknownst to me, that there's a bunch of infantry just waiting to just gang up on me. I start moving towards the other comm tower as well. And continue taking properties. I finally start to move down over to the property that is on the southern island, and I am moving towards my other caps as well. And then I I build out another tank and 2 infantry. And then I've got this infantry in the forest, so that way I can try and cap over here. Now, as you can see, this is going to jump him up to 14,000 from what he's just done. And then he interrupts the cap entirely over here on my end with his infantry, meaning I don't get the comm tower. Then he moves out and he initiates 3 different captures. This is going to start taking him up to 17,000 next turn. I'm only at 12. That's not a lot of thousands comparatively. Continues moving out. And honestly, I wish I had a recon over here. If I had 1 recon, I could have shut away these infantry and forced them to send something down over here. But I don't have anything. And so now he's just building battlecopter and then triple infantry. Move on to my turn. So he has 2 tanks to my 1, and he has a battlecopter already. And I'm already seeing just a really huge mistake in my overall build and playing. So I will get into that in just a moment, though. I move over to scout the infantry, and I just basically hope and prayed that he was not capping the comm tower to take that shot. So I was really risky on my end, and I should have played it a lot safer, but I didn't. I move over with a lot of infantry, start capturing towards the middle, and I initiate the capture on the other comm tower. And I try and bring over infantry to help reinforce it, basically. I move the mech into the black boat, so now I've got my second mech and infantry over here. I build another infantry from the base, naturally, because I want to keep deploying from the black boat. I'm able to load off an infantry there, and then I go tank. And what I've been trying to do, and what I'm viewing, at least presently, as a good philosophy, is that if you can build a battlecopter and still build infantry from all of your bases, that it might be a good idea to consider building an anti-air. Because if your opponent is doing anywhere close to similar as you in the capture game, that means that they are likely looking to do the same thing. Especially if you're second player, definitely look to do that, for sure. And even first, second, whatever. If you're playing and you can build a battlecopter without base skipping, consider an anti-air. Because you want to try and shut down the battlecopter early and make sure that it's useless. You want to hit it before it can get you and be done. Anyways, he initiates the caps and, yeah, takes him up to 17,000. And then he delays the capture of my comm tower, and admittedly, I go hard on trying to take this comm tower, and that was probably a mistake. Okay, now let's take a look at this real quick. So he moves over this tank, and he moves 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means at 5, 6, he can't strike my tank yet. It's just out of range. So he puts it onto the property in order to, if I try and strike it, it'll get repaired, and then he'll strike back. And then he moves this tank over here, and he doesn't strike my tank, probably out of fear of getting striked back, which is a legitimate fear, I understand. He moves down his infantry more, and he's starting to deploy out some more, and he's starting to now going for these properties over here, which is bad because I don't have them over here, nor do I have these over here. And as you can see, he's now in infantry, anti-air infantry, and moves down. So basically, now that he's built his battlecopter, his saying is now, my opponent is most likely already built theirs as well, anti-air time. I would say probably being a bit more preemptive is best, but it's whatevs. I start capturing the city up here, and I do take out his infantry with my mech. I do a join cap on the comm tower to try and take it, and I start capturing the 2 cities over here. And I've got some more infantry coming up in an attempt to reinforce along with my tank. And as you can see, I've hit a pretty decent number. I'm at 18,000 right now for my total amount of money, which means I can go infantry, medium tank, and then infantry on my other base. I start capping 2 more properties to, of course, try and get them. And then I end up bringing my tank down as well, so that way I'm able to remove his infantry and secure the captures. Move in the infantry, deploy it out, and I move the transport copter to get this infantry off the island. So, moving on to the ending of day 10, he starts capping his comm tower now. And as you're going to see, he's doing a very good job of delaying mine, because it's still at 8 hit points, and he's got 2 infantry that are in range to be able to hit it. So he scouts my tank, he gets a first strike, he brings the other one down to interrupt the cap, which is sad. He finishes off the infantry, and then he just continues to delay the comm tower. Yeah, he's weakening his infantry a lot, but he's got reinforcements for it, so it's not as if it's, no muscle to back it up. He starts deploying the infantry closer to my cities, and then he interrupts the cap over here. Now he's bringing in the battlecopter, still out of my range as well, meaning that I am none the wiser of what's going on. He's able to then go medium tank, recon, infantry. So he's able to respond against my medium tank in kind, and more. So I strike over here in order to, weaken his infantry. There's no reason for me to cap when he's just going to hit me first again. I do finish up the caps down at the bottom, and join cap on the comm tower once again. This brings me up to 16,000, so I'm starting to catch up now. But man, he's been ahead of me for a bit. I take a great engagement, though, with the mech on his tank, which is going to be good. If only I could have gotten it here, that would have been even nicer, but I won't worry about that now. I finish off the tank, and then I move this mech over here, which kills the infantry from the planes bonus, and then I delay his comm tower capture to try and make it just a little bit harder for him to hopefully punch through. I move my medium tank up, along with my other infantry. I'm able to load up into the transport and dump him off, load up with another one, and then now that I know he has a battlecopter, you'll see that I now go for my anti-air, infantry, and pass. So my anti-air was not preemptive at all, which is not what I should have done. He moves over, fires on the comm tower with 3 infantry, excuse me. He gets vision over here in the area with moving onto the mountain. He starts capping on the 2 empty properties. He moves out with some more infantry. Does some capping on the comm tower to bring it down to 2. Moves in with the battlecopter. Takes the engagement on my tank. Moves over with the infantry to fire on my mech. He moves over with his recon. And then he uses his power. So, as you can see, he did so many things before using his power. Now, granted, capping these properties didn't matter. But with 10% firepower on 3 different infantry, he possibly could have entirely wiped off my comm tower capture. I'm basically barely struggling to keep this going. So the fact that he could have probably done something about it and didn't is not very smart. He also took the engagement with the battlecopter and the infantry prior to this, and he also moved these 2 units and the recon as well. They all would have gotten an extra movement from his power. Now granted, he still gets to take advantage of the movement and the firepower boost by moving a lot of different units, so it's not as if it was all wasted per se, but it definitely wasn't utilized properly in my opinion. But he does take a lot of great engagements with everything. He gets the transport copter in range, then goes artillery, battlecopter, infantry. We're starting to get to the ending of the match now. It's already starting to get pretty clear that I'm not in the lead at all. I just hit next turn because I'm an idiot putting it back. So I fire on the 1 hit point infantry, cap, and then I move into the forest to scout. I join cap to try and ensure I get the tower. I take out his 1 hit point infantry, and I start capturing on the other neutral city. I'm able to fire on his infantry without the planes bonus because it's kind of hard to take advantage of where I'm at. I do take another shot on the infantry, and I pull my tank back because I don't want it just to get first striked and die. So I'm trying to be, a little bit reserved. I don't want to overextend, although I feel like I've already started to overextend earlier on, and that not doing it now isn't really, changing much. I build my 3rd mech, battlecopter, infantry, and I see that he has an anti-air. That means that I need to be careful with my battlecopter, otherwise it's going to get shot down. He does cap the comm tower though, which means now he's got 10% firepower on me across the board. So his units are, for all intents and purposes, pretty much just better than mine right now. He takes the strike with the battlecopter. He's able to start capping on one of my properties. He takes down my mech with the first strike. He's able to also fire on my other infantry, on one of them on the road. And now he's just getting more scouting until he knows I have the medium tank now. So he moves in a way to try and ensure that he's not going to get punished by it. Continues to move down over here to load off some more infantry. And as you can see, my early aggression with my infantry got me almost nowhere. It got me a couple of properties over here, and that's it. Whereas, comparatively, he already has both of these, and now is starting to move towards down here. So I'm just very, very much behind. Goes for tank, infantry, shoots on the comm tower, which I think was a bit of a waste. I'm going to get it anyways, so shooting once wasn't really much different. I take down the 6 hit point infantry, and I move to try and just delay the capture because I know I'm only making 16,000. I know that he's making at least as much as I am, probably more. I don't want the income disparity to become too high. That's why I try and go pretty hyper aggressive on things. I take out the infantry there. And then I move up my anti-air into the forest, and I cover my medium tank with my infantry to try and hopefully make sure he's not getting the first strike. I load up the mech and infantry, actually just the mech, I guess. Continue moving out, not really making too much use of the transport copter, admittedly, but I do move them so that way I can get a small boost with the infantry, and then I go infantry, mech, battlecopter, fire to try and delay it more and pass. So now things are starting to get pretty glum. He's dealt a ton of damage to my city, and now he's just able to move the recon over and start really just seeing that I have no presence in the middle, which means he's free to start doing whatever he wants to down here. He's exerting a ton of pressure on my comm tower and moving more infantry in. He's taking out the infantry I've got hidden in the forest. He's able to strike and kill my infantry wall that was covering my medium tank. So now the battlecopter comes in and gets a pretty good shot off. He's able to also move his medium tank over, one-shot my tank as well. So I am just not doing great now. Things are starting to get really gloomy for me. He's initiating a lot of captures and exerting also a lot of pressure on my HQ, which is not good. Now, as you can see, he does not pop his power, so he's pretty much, I guess, assumed he's taking all the engagements he wants to and doesn't really need to take much else at the time. I guess it's okay. But now he built the bomber because he had 27,000 and then triple infantry. So now he's teched up to a really strong unit and didn't base skip forward at all. I move over and try and take a couple of shots. I kill his battlecopter, and I'm starting to think things are okay. I am able to strike his tank, and I try and fail to secure the city away from him. I take the shot with my medium tank to kill his anti-air. I move in my battlecopter to kill out the tank, and then I'm able to start firing on the infantry he's got, pressuring this side a little bit, but I still don't have a response for that recon. So now it's mostly just me attacking infantry and, well, hoping I'm going to be okay and knowing that I'm not. I move the transport copter up to try and help reinforce the sides that I'm losing on, but I'm pretty much losing on all fronts for the most part. I'm not exerting any pressure like he is, and I just don't have a response to anything that's really going on. And so, infantry, tank, pass turn. It's day 14, and things are just not good. He goes for his power to give him that movement boost, and you're just going to see it just is demolishing. It's trapped there, which is fine. He takes a shot with his battlecopter, bringing me down very low, and then he's able to destroy my anti-air, meaning that he's got a battlecopter that's pretty much uncontested until I strike it first. He starts capturing on more of my cities, and he also took the city away from me. He now has infantry literally on my doorstep from my HQ. He takes out my infantry here and moves out more with his to getting it more in range. He's able to put his bomber pretty close up, and you're also going to see he moves his artillery right into the action, which is what you should do at this point, I guess. I mean, there's not much else to do. It unloads an infantry. It's guarded by the infantry with the artillery, or the artillery is guarded by the infantry. And then he's able to just build battlecopter, infantry, tank, or infantry. And then I see what's going on. I see my value. I see my economy, and I see how much he's got at me, and I resign. This map has always been a tough one for me. I've won one match that I played up here, and my opponent admittedly was not playing probably the best that they could have. And I'm not saying that I was playing, the best I could, and so was this opponent. We both made pretty big mistakes, I think, overall. But he just had a stronger capture game, which allowed him to start snowballing a lot sooner and getting the units he needed and getting them where he needed. So, Luis, I'm probably mispronouncing it, Luis Angeles. Definitely appreciate the game for sure. I appreciate you also being a cool guy to talk to afterwards, and I guess giving words of encouragement in the messages, I guess you could say. I appreciate it nonetheless. I do want to say thank you to anybody who's made it this far, finished watching the video. Love you guys so much. I very much hope y'all enjoyed this. I definitely intend to do some more soon. And yeah, y'all please just take care and y'all stay safe.